Hello, ladies and gentlemen, keeping it real, keeping it 100. You're welcome to TGM Podcast with Joshua. Today, I'm so excited to have one of my very own friend. I think classmate one time, and she's very incredible, talented. In fact, I don't know what kind of character will I want to position you if I were to talk about the movie industry. Who is Paula in the movie industry? So what would I say? What would I say? You have some persona about probably I would say that's kind of Genevieve that doesn't come frequently online, but anytime she comes out, everywhere is scatter. You just see one post, you just see thousands of comments. So Paula is very talented, intelligent, beautiful, everything you can ever think of. I'm so excited to have her here because it's not why I'm excited is she's just going into the moon right now. She just got married. Can you imagine? Oh, you can see it all over her. Oh my god. Oh my god. Now so marriage we
Yeah, so
congratulations.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Ah, congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations once more. I'm so excited, so happy for you. Good
Thank
to
you.
have you on TGM podcast.
Thank
All
you.
right, welcome, Paula.
Yeah. Thank you very
I
much.
think it's been. I think the last time I saw you in person, more probably in 2018, during the convocations in Uniben and all that. It's been a wonderful experience getting to know you in Uniben.
Thank
ah,
you.
so so
Thank you.
so yes, so good to see you. And as God will have it, you are now in Canada, not just as study route, you're already PR. So some of these ideas, some of the things you post online, and some of the things you share with me, gave me the courage to say this knowledge should not just go that way. People who want to learn more, also know about your how you got about your PR, and also this your new adventure. You're more like an evangelist for AI. All right. Can you imagine Paula used AI to plan a wedding, and she did it excellently well. So she's going to be sharing with us experiences about AI, and also telling us about um, this new venture, how she was able to get that PR in a very easy step. All right, before I take too much of the this today is your day, and you are still glowing in the moon, by the way, honeymoon. So I would like for you to do the introduction so that the audience will get to meet you.
All right. Hi everyone. Coincidentally, today is like my 1 month anniversary. So yeah.
Oh,
Congratulations to me.
congratulations!
Thank you very much.
Congratulations! Oh
Thank
my!
you. Thank you. So my name is Paula. Like he said, Paula Desouza. I'm a product manager. Well, like Joshua already said, I'm currently in a phase in my journey of product management where I'm trying to explore um, how to infuse artificial intelligence into product management. So I'm a product manager, but I'm also an aspiring AI product manager. So yeah, that's like a summary of who I am. My journey, my journey started a long time ago, like years ago. But I will not bore you with like the whole story of how I got into tech and all of that because it's quite long. But I would say um transitioning, I got into tech in officially in 2019. But prior to then, I had tried my hands on, or I have interned in like tech companies even though some people would not categorize them as tech companies, right? But I interned in like telecoms companies. But I got into like fintech properly in 2019. And then in 2022, I transitioned from operations to product management. And yeah, I'm currently in product management. So that's like a summary of my tech experience, right? So yeah, that's it about me.
Oh, interesting, interesting. That's it's good to hear that. But I would like, because sometimes when you mention where you work, sometimes it gives people who are what you are also aspiring more like, I'm in the right path. I know this place. I worked there before. This, So do you mind sharing some of those tech companies where you worked initially, where you interned before
Okay.
you got into fintech? Yeah.
All right. So 2017, 18, I think 2018, or 2016. Let's start with 2016 during like the 400 level internship for university students. I interned for 6 months at Swift Networks. So Swift Networks is an ISP based in Lagos, Nigeria, and that's why I interned at Swift Network. At that time, I was very interested in networking, right? And so when the opportunity came, I jumped on it. So that was like my introduction into practical networking as opposed to theory that I've been hearing in school prior to then. And then in 2018, while waiting for ASU to be done with their strike, and then for us to be called up for service, I interned again at IPNX. IPNX too is another ISP based in Lagos, Nigeria, and I did 7 months at IPNX before I went for service. I went for service and I was a STEM tutor in a secondary school. But um, within all of this time, or during my time at Swift and IPNX, I took like courses because I'm very learning oriented. I like to learn new things. I don't like to just be where I am. I'm quite curious. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I got into tech or why I studied engineering. But yeah, that's a story for another day. So in all of these I was doing like courses, online courses, physical courses just to up my game. And then after service, immediately after service, I got a job with InterSwitch. So InterSwitch Nigeria. Coincidentally, InterSwitch was my dream company. I heard about InterSwitch in 2016 when I heard a friend of mine was working with InterSwitch, and yeah, that was like my goal company or my dream company. And so when the opportunity came in 2019, I literally just jumped on it. But at InterSwitch, I started with the operations unit. So they call operations OPS. OPS is, some people say, mind my language, but some people say OPS is other people's shit, right? So
Yeah.
operations is typically where every department or a lot of department dump stuff. So technology risk, you have to work with a lot of different departments because of the processes or the task that you do. At operations, I rose to champion the settlement and reporting processes in interstate operations. Then from operations, there was an opportunity to have like SMEs, subject matter experts, come up with solutions to some of the problems that were affecting the operations team. But this would have required us to work with like many people or most people on the technology arm. So they needed people that could marry operations and technology. And then that was the origin of my product journey, right? Even though I don't call what I did in operations like core products, because after InterSwitch I realized some things were actually missing, which my current role and the role after InterSwitch bridge that gap for me. But yeah, at InterSwitch, I transitioned from operations to product. And then after InterSwitch, I moved to a startup because I wanted like a startup experience. InterSwitch is an established company. It's about 22 years now, if I'm not mistaken. And I needed that startup experience to just start something from scratch and build something from scratch. So I moved from InterSwitch, a fintech in Lagos, to Blue Salt, another fintech in Lagos. But this time around, Blue Salt is not just a fintech. Blue Salt also provides um infrastructure or services or products. They build products for other fintechs. So it's not just a fintech on its own. It also has like other businesses from the name Blue Salt. And then yeah, from Blue Salt I moved to Canada where I currently am, and now I'm with Incline Incorporated as a project manager. Hopefully I will go back to my product first love, but for now, yeah, I'm a project manager in Canada. So yeah, that's like a summary of all the places I've worked. But at the end of the day, the goal is Google. So yeah, let me just slot that in.
Oh, this podcast is going to be streamed and it's also going to be shared on LinkedIn. So hope
Yeah,
they
the goal is
have.
Google.
Okay, okay, that's nice. It's good to hear that you're inspiring to work with Google. Your journey, I kind of know you at least the foundation. How you started, how you started, and I must say that you are very rare. Your hard work and will I say to use a more Nigerian palace, I would say you are bookworm. I would say you are bookworm. The way you're saying, I like to learn, I like knowledge, but it's bookworm. So, basically, I've actually had the opportunity of working with you and all that. Also having you sharing the same class with you sometime. So, basically, what we're gonna do next is to you tell us about your how you came about AI.
Yeah.
Oh, should we start with AI? Okay, yeah. So how you came about AI and what gave you that idea about using AI for planning your wedding?
Okay, thank you. So my encounter with AI was very recent, like very recent. So I heard like AI, people talking about AI, how AI is going to change a lot of things, how AI is a game changer, but I couldn't really relate to what they were saying. So, my friend, a friend of mine that is also she's very knowledge, she just likes knowledge, right? Apparently, she encountered a course, a training, an ALX training that kind of demystified some of the vague concepts in AI. And then she told me about it and said, "Oh, why don't you do this? Or why don't you jump on this?" Because I told her I was looking for something different, you know yourself. So yeah, she's very knowledge savvy,
Miss
or
Juliet?
she's always, yeah, her name is Juliet actually. Um, she's always looking for new things or trying to know new things, just like me. So she encouraged me to take the course, the ALX course, and then I started the course, and that was like where some of those vague concepts were actually broken down, right? And then I kind of understood, okay, so this is what the whole AI thing is all about. So I like to categorize AI or put them on the same pedal, AI and SEO. You can put them on the same pedal. So I like to think that um or AI and search engines actually. So I like to think that um prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is a concept in AI where you give the computer a certain input, and then the expectation is that the computer processes that are inbuilt, and then gives you a certain output. At the end of the day, it's still really like computer engineering, but yeah, in this context, it's for AI. I like to think that it's very similar to like SEO in search engines. So when people fear that, oh, will AI take our jobs? Well, I don't think AI will take our jobs. I think the jobs AI will take are like task based jobs. So, there are some jobs that are like routine, there are steps that these people have to carry out, and then that's really what their job is about, right? But if there are like AI models that can take on those tasks, then yeah, definitely AI could take off that job. But what would give such a person an edge, or what would give people an edge, is if they know how to use AI to perform those tasks. So will AI take our jobs? Maybe some jobs, but what will give you an edge as someone that AI may take their job is if you actually know how to use AI to do those tasks that you're doing, or if you know how to create an AI model that would do that task seamlessly, then yeah, you're good to go. So it's for people to actually go and find out and know about AI. So when the internet came and um you now have to use like browsers to search for stuff on the internet. If you recall, back then there are certain symbols or there are certain signs that you would use on those search engines, and then you would get like optimal results or optimal output. The same thing, there are certain things that you need to know, or there are certain things that you need to do when you are using some of these AI tools that you would now use to get like optimal results. But aside that, um my AI journey, right? Aside from my friend talking to me about it, my AI journey also, one of the things that actually highlighted the need for me to even understand what AI was about or is about was my quest to even understand ATSs. So from Nigeria, I realized that the Nigerian um, landscape for a lot of things, job, finance, a lot of things, right, is quite different from Canada. So I realized that in Canada currently, because I did like a bit of research and I did like a bit of interactions with people here in Canada, right? Maybe 2 years ago it would have been different because of post COVID and remote work and all. But currently, with the current tech layoffs in the US and some other factors, what you typically have for recruiters is ATSs, right? These ATSs typically will screen off resumes that the ATS has been programmed to screen off based on certain criteria that those ATSs, or certain criteria that those recruiters have imputed in the ATS. At the end of the day, some of those ATSs or the ATSs actually like it's actually AI, right? Or their AI models are working behind them, where the recruiter would say, I want, for the resumes you're going to give me, I want to see XYZ. I want to see these keywords. I want to see these skills. I want to see impact, right? Based on whatever the recruiter wants to see, and based on who the recruiter wants to eventually interview, that's where you now have ATS come to play, and that's like the first hurdle to pass. So in my quest to beat ATSs, right, I found, okay, I need to even understand how AI work works. I need to understand how these ATSs work, right? And that was another thing that I was actually explored aside using AI in like different things or using AI in different fields, which I'm currently exploring. And yeah, that brought me back to planning my wedding. So planning my wedding was very, very, when I tell people that way, I plan my wedding remotely and I plan my wedding in 2 months. It's very, very, is it possible? Is it not possible? Is it possible? Right? But I think one of the things that assisted me, or one of the things that helped me, is um the presence of family, right? So I'm Nigerian, my husband is Nigerian, our parents are Nigerians, I'm back in Nigeria. So definitely we had to go back to Nigeria to like do our wedding and stuff. Right. So um what I did, I had to wear my PM hat for planning my wedding. So what I did was, what we did, my mom and I, was to actually do a lot of task delegation. So we delegated a lot of tasks. The person that will go to the market to get the ashrebi, the person that will go to the market to get like items for um like the bride price items, or items basically for the wedding, right? But my role was to um reach out to vendors. Yeah. So, and that was where majorly I had to use AI, right? My role was to reach out to vendors. There are other aspects which my family members and my mom actually took on, like looking for the hall, looking for decoration person, looking for some other things, right? That was like a task, because those some of those things were like on the ground activities. It could not be done remotely. But AI helped me to interact and even find those vendors remotely. So for some of the vendors, I kind of knew them prior to then. Some people had already recommended some to me, but for others, I had to use many of my vendors. I found them on Instagram actually, right? So some of them, like makeup, I knew the makeup person. I knew that okay, this was the makeup person I was going to see for my wedding, because she had done like makeup for me like prior, but I didn't have like a hair person. So I used Instagram to get the hair person. Coincidentally, the makeup person and the hair person were friends. So they kind of knew each other. So that was like seamless. Um Someone recommended the photography person to me, but I used Instagram too to get the videography person, right? And then there are some other people too that people recommended, and then I now used Instagram to actually get those other people. So when I mean that I used Instagram, right, I searched for mutual connections. So if I know you are a hair person and this is, if I know you're a makeup person, this is makeup person I use, I would typically search for hair people that are like connections with that makeup person, and then try to figure out, okay, who do I choose, who do I want to choose. The other factors to that I actually used, like location, price especially, because yeah, yeah, location and price, the other factors. But aside like looking for these vendors, right, another thing that
Yeah.
what what AI kind of helped me also do was interacting with them, communicating with them. I had like scheduled messages that I used like ChatGPT to create, and then schedule those messages to go out at certain times, right? I had that. But even coming up with vendors, I did a lot of AI would help me like with a lot of research, how to go about getting the vendors. My checklist, my wedding checklist, I had to use ChatGPT to use ChatGPT to get the checklist, to see what has been done, what is left, and all of that. So a lot of tracking too was done when I got the checklist from ChatGPT. I started using that to track what has been done and what needed not to be done, or what needed to be done. Right. So yeah, that's like a summary of what I use AI for planning my wedding, getting the vendors, communicating with the vendors, getting like location, and yeah, pretty much every other thing that has to do with wedding. And it was actually seamless. So a lot of people say, oh, working is stressful, blah blah blah. But for me, it wasn't as stressful as they sounded, because I kind of had family that was doing like a lot of things for me, or people that were delegated to do a lot of things for me. But on my own part too, I also delivered what needed to be done with the help of AI. So yeah, that's typically what I used AI for. My writing. Currently, I'm exploring. I'm even going deeper. I'm exploring how AI would have made my work easier in my previous experiences. So in the past, I've done like I've done like customer support, I've done like technical support, I've done fintech operations, I've done fintech products, um, and currently I'm doing like project management. So I'm trying to explore what I could have done better if AI was in the picture at the time I was there, right? And those are some of the things I'm writing about currently, or I'm posting about currently on social media. So yeah, but there are also other things that AI can do, and there are also other industries where AI would definitely work effectively. I'm also exploring that, right? And then there are other things too that I'm also doing, like trying to create an AI model to solve a problem, trying to see how to infuse AI into like products. So I pick random products and then I look at those products, or even services, right? I look at those products and services and I look at, okay, so how can we infuse AI into this? AI is beyond chatbots. So a lot of people just talk about chatbots. There are other things you can actually do in your current role or in your current job, and you can infuse AI to your work. It makes like things fast for you. Imagine if you're a content creator, for example, and then maybe you're just starting out and
Yeah.
then what you don't know what your channel will be about, you don't know how to go about it. You see videos, you like people's videos, you think you can do some of what they do, but you don't know how to go about it, right? Your starting point could be AI. You could randomly just
Yeah.
ask, okay, I'm a beginner content creator. I want to create content for Instagram, for example. What should my content look like? What should my page look like? Or I'm a caterer, for example. I want to have an Instagram page. What should my content compose of? Or I want to do 100 days of content challenge. What should I post on those 100 days, right? So that could be like, it could give you like it could give you somewhere to start, right? But you would now put in your humanness, because at the end of the day, AI is, they're machines. You would now put in your humanness, your creativity, your innovative ability to now bring that idea to light. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There are some people who talk about, oh, the negative effects of AI, right? We have that everything has a good and bad side. But yeah, what I personally will be focusing on is using AI for good. So yeah, that's it.
Excellent, excellent. So you've really dealt extensively with this topic, this AI, because I saw most of your posts on LinkedIn. It's more like you're more like an evangelist for AI. I kind of use it to I know how seamless it makes things to be, how productive and effective you can, efficient it is when you use AI for some of the tasks. It gives you takes away some burden away from you, you know. So I kind of relate, but the way you used it for your wedding, I say, oh, maybe this might inspire some of us who are still in that who have not crossed the line yet. Okay, so yeah, so it's very inspiring sharing with us. this process. But this is my next question. You talked about your interest of pretty soon that you want to go into having models, AI models. I want you to take us through the process. If I was to more like have the interest to create models, AI models, what do I need to know? Do I need to learn some programming languages? Do I just need to do drag and drop? Or do I use Python? Do I use Java? Do I use what kind of um, or machine learning? Do I have to go into machine learning? Uh, so let's get to hear from you the
Okay.
process like to create models, AI models.
Okay. So for like I said, I just started that part. I'm just in the beginning phase of that, right? I'm still trying to learn what an AI model consists of, right? I even know how to plug in myself. But from a product manager perspective, I have always run away from coding. And maybe that's why product management is for me, right? But I've always run away from coding. Not because if I sit down and put my mind to it, I would not get it, right? But I don't think I'm patient enough for it, right? I would prefer to manage. I could understand code. I can understand code, right? But sit down and code, I don't think that's for me. I'm too curious to just sit down and just code, right? But yeah, from the product management angle, right? At the end of the day, you realize that when you see AI products, there are AI models that are behind those products, right? And then typically at the end of the day, AI is still computer. It still does the basic things of a computer, which is accept input, processes it, and gives output, right? So for every model that you have, irrespective of the industry where it to be used, there are it is expected that you would give that model inputs, and then it will process that input, and then it would give you the required or the desired output. Now the difference now with AI is that you can have multiple models that are specific for specific reasons. So say for example, um I'm a doctor, for example, and then of lab scientist. Let me go to lab scientist. I'm a lab scientist, for example, and then I take samples, maybe blood samples, and then the goal is at the end of the day, I want to take that blood sample, and then um I want to do like maybe pregnancy test, for example. I want to do pregnancy test on those blood samples and then get the results, right? And as a lab scientist, that's not the only thing I do. I could also take blood samples and say I want to do HIV test. Or I could also take blood samples and say I want to check the maybe the blood level, right? Now these are different tasks. Maybe prior to AI, as a lab scientist, I would have to take maybe a drop of blood and pass it through a system that will now tell me, or I would have to look through a microscope and check and say, okay, is this person pregnant, right? And then I would have to do that maybe 3 times because I'm doing on the same blood sample. I'm going to do pregnancy test. I'm going to do HIV test. I'm going to check blood level, right? So I would have to do 3 different processes or 3 different tasks on the same blood sample, right? AI can
Mhm.
come into that, right? Where I say, AI, this is my input. My input is this blood sample, right? Process this blood sample, check this blood sample, and then give me an output, confirm to me whether this person is pregnant, whether this person has HIV, and tell me the blood level, right? That's like a practical way of how AI can come. Just tell me at once. I don't have to do it 3 times, so I don't have to pass through a process or 3 different processes to get that output, right? Now, At the end of the day, what a model, an AI model consists of, obviously, is data, because you have to impute something, you have to give the model something, right? There is also, you also have to train that model, right? Training the model is um giving the model commands, and that's possibly where programming will come in or coding will come in. But you don't necessarily have to know how to code to be able to come up with this idea that you're coming up with, or come up with how to use AI better in your own field. If you have the idea, right, you can have you have the idea clearly fleshed out, you have your goal, what you want to achieve. You can now maybe employ the resources of a programmer or a developer where required. If it's something you can't even do on your own, because I feel like even with AI, you can learn to code. You can learn to code if you actually want to, right? But yeah, training the model is like the part where you possibly need a lot of um, programming or computation or algorithm, because that's typically where you now tell what should be expected as input, what should be processed, and then what should be expected as the output. That's where the coding would come in. And then you now have to test, because when you've developed a model or an algorithm, you have to test that the algorithm is meeting the standard that you want it to meet, right? Before you now maybe deploy it as a model for other people to use, right? So those are like the four key steps or key areas in trying to come up with a model. But I think the technical part is the coding part, which is inevitable. But again, if it's something that you really, really want to put your heart to, you would definitely learn it. And then coding is not a I get it today thing. Is a continuous process. When you do project A today, or when you get project A today, tomorrow project B would require you to even know more than you know in project A. So it's a continuous learning curve, and then yeah, you definitely grow as the years advance. But yeah, that's pretty much where coding will possibly come into play in AI, in creating AI models. But as an individual, depending on if you really, really don't want to do coding, you could supervise, since you know the goal, and then you would demystify that goal to every other person that work on it, and then you come up with your model and possibly sell your model and call your company XYZ AI company.
That's very interesting. That's very striking. Yeah, most times it's very important to hear things like this. Um, People are beginning to use AI more, like use AI for most of the activities, but I think it's still underused. People have not really used AI to that capacity, and some people are still thinking, are still skeptical about the usage, especially for academics. When you talk about academic plagiarism and all that, that's more like the demerits in terms of academics, right? But sometimes for students, it's very helpful, because I remember those days when we used um, search Google to get some materials, like get to do research or try to download some materials. Sometimes you open 50 websites, some of them just rubbish in there. You don't find what you want, and you
Yes.
just need just short answer. Just short
Mm-hmm.
answer to this question. Give me this short answer to this question, and you have to open almost 50 pages, right? But because AI, such like ChatGPT, has been trained with millions of data over the years, everything, almost everything on the internet, for the 2020. So I think that's more like almost almost 20 something years to 2020. So anything you search, it gives you the right answer, exact answer you want, instead of opening several pages. So I think that's one of the very unique or remarkable things our day-to-day life. Um, yeah. Thank you for sharing, Paula. I think this will go a long way, but most people are also not so good with programming these days. Even when we used to do embedded systems, I remember in school doing designing microcontrollers and all that. But we didn't take them anywhere, anywhere like that. Maybe because we didn't have opportunity to use it in some of the companies we later worked with. But I think programming is no longer that is several programming languages. Today, those days we only have few programming languages. They are good with Java, PHP, HTML, CSS, which those ones are not programming language, and micro C for microcontrollers. We are big, but now we have thousands of
Yeah.
programming languages. Yeah, so I kind of relate with you when you talked about um, not too into programming, but at least we can read it. We can read the syntax. That's more important. So this brings me to the next question. Where do you see AI in the next 5 years? And do you think you already said it's not going to take our job, or is it going to take our job? Some people are still like that, but I think it's going to take most of our jobs because few people will be doing several jobs. The jobs that millions of people are doing, but we have fewer people doing it with AI.
So
So what do you
I
think?
think if you recall, I said it would it would most likely take on task-based jobs. So when I mean task-based jobs, I mean routine jobs, jobs that a maybe a high school student, right, can do. Just task-based jobs that you can document and say step one, go to X, step two, do Y, step three, come back to Z, right?
Yeah,
If you have a model that can do that for you, that's not an issue. You can just run whatever you need to run through that model, right? So those are most likely, like in the next 5 years, those are most likely the kind of jobs that AI will take on. And then what you are seeing it now is like a lot of AI companies coming up with solutions to issues that businesses are currently experiencing, right? So obviously, we are human beings, issues would always come up, right? And then what you now have is specificity in those solutions. So for example, I have a business, I'm a merchant that possibly sells I sell something, say I sell books, right? And then I sell those books in like really, really large quantity in Africa or in Nigeria. And a lot of merchants or traders are not like internet savvy, or they are not in tune with the current technology. There are some problems that those people are facing, problems with recording cash, problems with budgeting, problems with taking stock and inventory, problems, possible problems with even employing staff. They're like different problems that those people would be experiencing. What you now have is you have people coming up with specific solutions to those problems. So, for example, I see a merchant and I see, okay, this person is having inventory problem, taking stock of their goods, right, and keeping track of those goods or having a history of those goods. What I would now do is, oh, let me create a model. What do I need to collect? What do I need to process? What do I need to show this person at the end of the day, right? And then I will come up with a tool and call it something something AI and say, okay, it's an inventory management tool. But that is solving one part of the business's problems. The other parts that possibly if AI would also be infused, you also have products that will take on those tasks. But what you have a lot of enterprise companies now doing is because prior to now, that has been their business model, they have encompassing solutions that um one person can use to do 10 things. what you now have those enterprise companies do is they're now trying to infuse AI into their existing solution to even make it better. So instead of people patronizing like small AI companies that have small models that are specific to certain problems, they want to create like encompassing solution that those businesses can come to and have those all their problems solved in that solution, but they are infusing AI into it. But like I said, in the next 5 years, I think 5 years is with the way technology is evolving, right? In the next 5 years, AI would obviously or most likely take on a lot of roles or take on a lot of jobs, but you would find that most of those jobs are task-based jobs, right? But what would give people an edge, or what would give you an edge for you to stand out is if you know how to use AI, right? Because, for example, if I'm a CEO of a company and um, I have to employ two people, right, for a role, two people to be my executive assistant for a role, and then one of them is very AI savvy, where before I even ask a question or before I even ask them to do something, they kind of know what I'm trying to ask about and they are giving me answers to what I need to know, right? Versus someone that doesn't even use AI or doesn't is not really in the know. I have to always communicate my problem, give the person some time to process it before the person comes back with me and come back to me with answers, right? So if I was a CEO in the next 5 years, or if I am a CEO in the next 5 years, I would most likely be going for that person that is quick to act, that person that can typically use AI to figure out solutions or give me options based on, oh, they've used AI to do research or they've built a model that would quickly do that thing for me and give me output, right? So that person would have an edge over someone that does not even have like knowledge about AI and is not possibly interested. So those kind of jobs, that's where you now say, okay, we AI take our jobs. I don't think it would take a lot of jobs, but you find that the kind of jobs it would take, it would be task-based jobs. And then now we have like self-driving cars, right? At the end of the day, driving is task based, right? You have your steering. If you want to turn left, you put your steering left. You want to turn right, you put it right. You have your brakes and you have your accelerator, right? If you want to go faster, press the accelerator. If you want to halt because you have like a vehicle around you, you have to press the brake. Those are like tasks. It's very simple task, right? So taking all of these tasks and incorporating it into one solution is now what you now have as self-driving cars because you've given the program or you've given the tool some certain you've given them rules or algorithm to say if you do this, if you have this, do this, if you have this, do this. That's pretty much what um AI is about, or the whole concept of model is about. It's getting machines to do what humans can do, but trying to make it faster. But again, you realize that AI is a machine. So sometimes you have like robotic feedback because it's a machine. Now, where you now come in as a human being is taking that robotic feedback and humanizing it. And those are the people that would typically stay in the game with this whole AI craze. But yeah, it is what it is.
It's,
AI will
it's,
take a lot of
it's,
jobs, but again, you
yes.
would have an edge if you are in the know of what AI can help you do and possibly start acting on it. Start using AI to do that thing before the time comes so that when it's time to take the job, you can say, not today, AI, because I know how to use you to get this job done. Right. So, yeah, that's it.
That's very remarkable. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, a lot of things have really been transformed by the usage of AI. Personally, I've been thrilled by that. most of like Vancouver here, you see trains, electric trains, nobody driving themselves. The first time I came, I was like I was going to school. I went to uh, one of my uncle, and we just went to school and we're coming. Eventually, I was going to come down from the train station. And now said we're not discussing, just probably checking that those trains were self-driving. I was like, what? So for that kind of distance, because we actually have not done, I've not entered a self-driving train before. I've known about cars, but that was one of the things I was like, oh, this is lovely. And it gives me joy because remember we did embedded system programming, doing a microcontroller, writing some codes, a little bit of artificial intelligence, neural networks, trying to model human brain and all that back then in school. So it gives me joy, like, oh, this is actually very, very interesting, right? But sometimes the people have already about self-driving cars is the ethical part where um, when it's faced with a difficult situation, probably human beings that it could not avoid, unavoidable accidents. Human beings standing, a vehicle or two people standing, or another 10 people who should they go for? Would the vehicle go for? Maybe probably cannot avoid anyone. He must hit somebody down. All right. So those were kind of discussions and ethical challenges that we were talking about AI. That okay, should they go this way towards more people? Should it go towards the car? Should it go towards humans? Should it go towards so it's kind of probably, I think, in the long run, to be able to still work more on that model to get a better result. So thank you so much. I think this AI part is very interesting.
Very interesting, actually.
It's going
It's
to
very
take this
interesting.
long. Very interesting. But I want you to share. I want you to share a little bit about how just people can use to apply for jobs and get it because of this usage of AI to just filter applications, right? Most people apply for 100 jobs and probably don't ever get any call, and they are wondering, is it village people? All right. So, can you throw more like maybe if you were to apply for a job, what are the strategies you will use to make sure that your application, if you get an interview, very important.
Okay.
Then before we now go to your PR, we'll close with that.
Okay. So there are different levels to like application at the end of the day. There's the first level which everybody's trying to pass through, which is like the application level. But the other levels, there's interview level and yeah, right. But application, like I said, maybe 2 years ago, this may not have been the way to go. Maybe 2 years ago, people were getting jobs maybe on LinkedIn, they have recruiters reach out to them. But that's because of the dip in the workforce post COVID, right? And the
Yeah.
whole influx or the whole infusion of remote work, right? So people that had jobs or people that have been on their current jobs for like 2 years, when you ask them, oh, how did you get your job? They tell you, oh, someone reached out to me on LinkedIn, or someone reached out to me X on XYZ, or someone referred me and I got the job, right? But now what you have is because you have like a lot of competition, you have a lot of people that have been laid off from their tech roles and they are looking to take on other roles or even take on other like other similar roles from where they are coming from, or even new roles. What you now have is you have people with a lot of experience that are coming into the job market or they're in the job market and they are looking for these little um little quota that you have for people to fill in those jobs, in the job market, right? So you have like 1,000 people trying to fill 50 slots, right? So what would give you an edge is passing the first stage first before you now even get to the human part where you have to interact with people, and then they can now vet you from the human angle. So there's the machine part where they use to screen people's resume, because before you get to the human part where they have to interview you and stuff, you're you have to have a portfolio, or you have to have a summary of who you are. That's why you have your resume or even your cover letter of who you are and what you can bring, right? And that's where a lot of companies or a lot of recruiters now have to bring in AI, because that's like the machine part. And then you call those systems, what they call those systems are ATSs, applicant tracking systems. So what you have is a company would give out their an opening and say, oh, this is what we are looking for. Even though some of those job descriptions can be like really vague or even very different from what the person would actually be employed to do. But for the purpose of screening out a lot of people and getting to the kind of people that they want to have in their organization, many of them use ATSs. So what ATSs will typically do is you have tools. There are different types of ATSs that companies use. What and those ATSs have somewhat similar roles that they play, but again, some of them have like unique value proposition, which each of them are specific to. So you have those ATSs. What the recruiters will typically do is tell the ATS that this is the kind of candidate I am looking for. If people sending their resumes, 1,000 people sending their resume, what the ATS is trying to do is to look for, based on those resumes that have been sent in, look for who fits into what the recruiter wants, or who fits closely into what the recruiter wants. So if you have 1,000 people and you pass it through an ATS, different people can have different marks or different scores based on what has been imputed on that resume. And then if the recruiter now says, oh, I need people that would have a pass mark of greater than 90%, right? It means that anybody that has 70 something percent or 30 something percent, you won't even, the person will not even have the opportunity to even go and interview so that they can even see what the person can do, right? So beating the ATS is like the first hurdle. And then now communicating what you can do to that recruiter or to the hiring manager is another hurdle. But the first hurdle is actually beating the ATS, and that is where AI can help you, because at the end of the day, some of those ATSs are also AI models, right? So you are using AI to beat AI, right? So curating your CV or your resume in a way that that resume, when it passes through ATSs, it can stand the test of time, or you would have a really, really high value that would now take you to the next stage. That's the goal, right? And then what ATSs typically look out for are keywords. So in every job description, there are like keywords that the company is looking for, or there are keywords that are particular to that role. So, for example, a product role, there are some keywords that I should hear depending on what the company is looking out for. Because for a product role, I can hear vision, product vision, I can hear strategy, I can hear roadmap, I can hear backlog, I can hear agile, I can hear scrum, I can hear Kanban, right? If those are the keywords that the hiring manager, the recruiter has set that this AI should be looking out for, or this ATS should be looking out for. If I don't have those keywords on my resume, I have just screened myself out, because the machine or the tool that my resume will pass through. Those are the keywords that's my that the ATS is looking out for. And those things are not hard to get, they are not hard to locate because it's actually in the job description. So when you check through the job description, you can check what they are looking for. This is the job description, this is who we are, this is what you will do, the task you are going to perform. You can check through and you can figure out what those keywords are. You can also take that job description and pass it through AI tools, maybe ChatGPT, Gemini, Llama. You can pass it through those tools and you can ask those tools to say, oh, this is a job description. I need you to give me the keywords, right? And then you take on those keywords and know how to naturally infuse them into your resume. So for example, um, it gives you a keyword of it gives you like 10 different keywords. One of them is say backlog, for example. And then it's now human sense or your common sense that would now tell you, okay, let me take this backlog. It doesn't mean I'll just go to my resume and dump backlog there and say, oh, the ATS will see backlog and it will pass me. No, you now have to use your human knowledge to know how to infuse backlog into that your resume. So, say for example, I've worked in a particular company as a product manager where I helped them groom their backlog, and this was the impact it had on the company, right? I would now go and include it as part of my experience that, oh, when I work with this company, I help them groom their backlog in I help them groom their backlog in 1 week. Prior to that time, this was what was happening, or this was the impact of that backlog grooming. It helped them streamline their vision, or it helped them see what exactly their customers were requesting for, right? Or it helped them in increasing their customer satisfaction rates, right? Now that's where your human sense now comes in. You take what AI has given you and try to naturally infuse it into your resume, and then you put out that resume. So if, for example, the ATS is looking for backlog, when it sees that point, okay, I groom the backlog, that's like 1 point for you because yeah, it passes the test of having backlog on that resume. There are other things aside from keywords. There's also skills that ATSs look out for. So if I'm a customer service representative, and then one of the skills I should have is communication, written and verbal, right? In my resume, I should have somewhere where I have spelled it out that, oh, I have communication skill, right? So that when the ATS is going through my resume, it would not screen me off because I have bulk of what I need to have. Then there is like the format of the resume. So different countries have different formats. In Europe, if I'm not mistaken, you could have your picture, you could have your resume in like table format where you have different things. But in America, it's very simple, or in Canada, it's very simple. They just want to see your summary, your skills, your work experience, and maybe the tools you've used, and maybe your education, references, maybe certifications, right? So very brief. You don't need to put your passport, even your contact information, very brief, right? Some of these things are what AI could help you do, right? And then you can churn out reasonable resumes that will pass through ATSs, and then you can now move on to the next level. Aside even curating or crafting your resume, the other things that I can help you do, optimizing your LinkedIn profile, help you generate cover letters, could help you um come up with companies come up with companies that are even recruiting in that role that you are looking for, or come up with the top 10 companies in the country, in that country, for that particular industry. So you know, okay, which top 10 companies am I applying to? So you can just curate what you want, or the companies that you want to work in. Just streamline your applications to those companies so you're not all over the place. There are other things AI can help you do, even based on your resume. come up with the job roles that you can apply for in that country. So if I have like a product owner resume, some of these roles are similar. I could, or as a product manager, I could be a product manager, but I could also function as a project manager. I could function as a business analyst. I could function as a scrum master based on my experience, right? My resume, when I have like my master resume or my template resume, I can pass it through AI to say, okay, give me a list of roles that I can work with or work on based on this resume. And then you would have your output to say, okay, as a product manager, you have 90% based on this resume, 90%. As business analyst, you have 70%, for example, right? So these are different ways that AI could come into like your job application process. But specifically, because you want to pass the first hurdle, which is the ATS, what you need to find out is, you can even go on to even find out the company you're applying to, the ATS that they use. What do those ATS look out for? Like I said, those ATSs, they do similar things, which is to screen out resumes that do not meet the standards. But at the end of the day, those standards are set by those recruiters or by the hiring managers. Now, what you can do that will give you an edge is, this ATS that this company is using, what does this ATS look out for? Is it the keywords? Is it the skills? Is it the format? Is it the template? Is it my LinkedIn profile? Because that's another thing people use to like get jobs. Aside from your resume, is it the cover letter? Some of these things are other ways to that these companies use to check out people before they employ those people. So yeah, you can also use AI to find out, okay, these ATS, what are they looking out for, so that give I can put myself in the best position to get that role if I need to get that role. The other things to you need to do, like networking, which is actually which is actually quite important currently in the job market here in Canada. You have to do like a lot of networking. Um Canada is very big on referrals. So if you have like people to refer you for roles internally, even though those roles have been advertised externally, if you have people that would advertise you or refer you for those roles internally, it will give you an edge than someone that doesn't know anybody, right? That is just applying to the role. So if, for example, I work in a company, and then as an employee of the company, I hear that, oh, they are recruiting for this role, right? And I have the opportunity. Many times, employees have the opportunity to refer people that they know based on maybe their work ethic or they've worked with them in the past, or even people that they know can do well in that role, right? They have the opportunity. And many times, many people don't make use of that opportunity because they don't know people that will fit into that role. But if you are bold enough to reach out to say, oh, I'm interested in this role, can you internally refer me? That will give you an edge. So if they are going to be interviewing, you may not even need to pass through the ATSs. Different companies have their different patterns, right? If you are referred internally, you may not need to pass through an ATS. You may just go directly to a hiring manager calling you and giving you maybe um an interview, or you do like a video interview, right? So different companies have their different ways of handling it, right? So if you want to break out of that um ATS part, another thing you can explore is networking and getting referrals to those roles from people that already work in those companies or people that already work in those roles. So yeah, there are different ways you can infuse AI into your job search, but categorically or primarily what you're trying to achieve is going through or going passing through that ATS phase so that you can go to the interview phase. The interview phase is another phase too where you can also use AI. AI can suggest the possible questions they could ask you in interview. AI could give you how to structure your answers. AI could give you a lot of things, even down to um people that work in the company, what their likes or what their expectations of people in that role or the person in that role. what the person is coming to do. AI could even give you what's your role, what you would actually do, maybe your day to day when you actually hear that role. It can break it down that way for you. So yeah, in the whole job search thing, there are different ways AI can come into play, but primarily what you're trying to achieve is passing through the ATS. And to pass through the ATS, you have to give yourself a persona that is worthy of passing through the ATS and passing it, right? So that's it.
Hmm, interesting. So detailed. Yeah, yeah, so much. I see so much value coming out of this. Thank you so much for once again. This interview is longer than expected, but I think it's needed. Yeah, not usually I usually stop at 1 hour, but we're already in 1 hour 10 minutes, and we're just going to just touch base with this other part, which is very important, which is that's the AI. But let's talk about this your Canada journey, right? Most of us usually come to student route. Some people are like of with different, very similar way of coming in. But you told me yours was very striking, and I think people don't know that you can gain more points, using your strategy, and it's all in Nigeria. You can, apart instead of masters, going back to Uniben, going back to Unilag to do masters, you can just do a short course that will give you much points in express entry. All right, most people don't know that. Even me, I didn't know that. So I want you to share with us how did you were able to plan this your trip, your journey, and just how long did it take? Um, Take us through the process, especially emphasizing on the course you took that gave you more for express entry.
All right. So when I tell people, okay, so my PR journey or my Canada journey actually started in 2020, post COVID. Now, um, I knew that I was skeptical. Okay, do I want to go to Canada? Do I not want to go to Canada? Right? But I made up my mind that yeah, right in 2020, I made up my mind that okay, it's something I need to start pursuing, right? And then I think around that time, you had like a lot of. I think Canada had put a halt on applications. I think PR, if I'm not mistaken, or applications in general, where they were not people were not migrating at that time, or they had not done draws in a really long time. So what I used that period to do was to just um get my passport, just get ready for the whole thing, right? For me, I maybe because of the education I had, not really a fan of the Nigerian education system. I'm more I'm more interested in project based learning. I'm not interested in just reading to pass exam. I'm not really exam based. I prefer project based, right? So going to a school for masters in Nigeria was not even in my agenda. It wasn't there. It was not just working for me. I would have even preferred to do like an online masters with a school outside the country where I would know that okay, while I'm learning, I would have like a project I'm working on, and maybe at the end of my education, I would have something to show for aside from yeah, maybe tests here and there. But I wasn't moved by going to school in Nigeria. So if you even brought it up to me to say, oh, go and do your masters in Nigeria, it wasn't in my plan. So what I did or what I was looking out for, because I started working with InterSwitch in 2019, and I knew that I needed to have like 3 years experience, right? Minimum of 3 years experience. Even though I had like internship experience, but that's not like full on experience. So um I gave myself to like 2022 because yeah, 2019 to 2022 will be 3 years. But before 2022, I was preparing, doing what it needs to be done, right? And then I think in 2021 or 2022, that was when Canada started doing draws again. And then that was when I entered the pool. So preparing for me was getting my passport, figuring out transcripts, because yeah, Uniben is Unibest. And even in transcripts, getting your transcript, they can actually frustrate you. So I took out that time to actually figure out how to get my transcript, figure out how to get my certificates, right? And every other thing that needed to be done. Or those are like the major things that needed to be done. Reading for IELTS, right? All of that was going on then. And then in 2021, I think Canada started doing draws again. But this time around, the draws were like really, really high. Like this, the threshold scores were like really, really high because they had like backlog and you had like a lot of people in the pool. So I still went about trying to figure out my transcript and all. I think I got my transcript eventually in 2022. 2022? Yes, I think 2022 or 2021, like end of 2021. That's when I got my transcript. Then I heard about, or I did the CRS, I used the CRS calculator too. So the CRS is comprehensive ranking score. So there is a threshold score you need to get to be able to be to be able to apply for permanent residence, right? So that threshold score is what they use to do the draws, the Canada draws. So for the longest time, after getting my transcript, after doing IELTS, and for the longest time, my score was 450, and this was very far from the threshold score, the score they were at the time. I think they were in like 500s. I was wondering how my score is 450 before they will come back to 500. And then when I was tracking on the website, when I was tracking like the number of people that were within certain bands or within certain threshold, I was still far. People that were 500 and above were still a lot. So I was just looking for how to increase my score. There are different things I could have done. I could have gone to learn French, right? Learned French would have increased my score. Um, I had one degree, so yeah, it was just one degree. If I had a second degree, maybe a master's or even like a second certificate aside my BSc, that would also have increased my score. If I had if I was younger in age, that would have increased my score. If I had a sibling, that would have increased my score. There are different things that would have increased my score, right, at the time. So what I did was to learn French, even though I would have loved to learn the language, but I needed something that I could do like quickly. Moreover, what's the guarantee? At that time, you're still doing like PMP draws and like general draws. You didn't have the category based draws, which you currently have now. So I was like, what's the guarantee that okay, if I learn French, they will pick me? And then if I learn French, it would now be maybe it would be like I will now have to do PNP and all of that. So I didn't learning French was not really my thing. I did not want to learn another language. So it was now trying to get a second certificate that was what I was looking at. So I even tried to do like an online masters with a UK school, right? But no, I didn't go on with that. So I spoke to or yeah, my sister is currently or my sister was in Canada at the time. So she was also trying to help me to get information from people that were already here or people that just came or people that their siblings too just came to even find out, oh, the score is how high, how did you do it? How were you able to do it? How were you able to get PR and all of that? So that was where she encountered a friend that mentioned um a particular certification that is equivalent to I think a diploma equivalent to 1 year diploma in the UK. Now, knowing the Nigerian education system and how tasking it can be, right, I kind of now understand why that course could be equivalent to 1 year diploma, because it was quite intensive. There were three modules in the course and it was intensive. And looking when I did the course, right, it was similar to most of what I did while I was in 300 level in university, right? So I kind of knew that okay, this is possibly why it's going to be similar to like 1 year diploma. But what the course is British Computer Society certificate in IT, right? Um what what I did was to now get that information, and I did research, and I found out that okay, this would give me extra points because it would now be extra certification for me. But for people that have like maybe diploma in the past and then they maybe have BSc, those are like two certificates. So that would also give you extra points because it's two certificates. But I just had BSc. I didn't have like a diploma in the past. So this was like a perfect opportunity. And by the time I calculated my score using the CRS tool, it would have given me extra 33 points. Yeah, extra 33 points that would be added to my 450. And then I was like, why not? How long am I going to do this course for? When is the exam and all of that? So I jumped on it literally. Um, so the exam happens twice in a year. I think April and October. Yeah, I think April and October. However, one needs to do, because of there is like a syllabus or curriculum for it, you need to do trainings or you read for the exam. So, like I said, there are three modules. There is software development, there's computer networking, and then there is can't remember the third module. I think information technology, something like that. So there are three different modules that literally just gives you the basic concepts of computer and maybe computer engineering, right? Those are the three modules, and you have the exam twice a year. But this will mean that you need to train or you need to read for the exam. And so I started looking for like training centers in Lagos where I could train for the exam, and I got one. It was a virtual training session. It was quite intensive. It was for 3 months, every weekend, every Saturday, 9 to 4, 9 to 5, I think. So it was quite intensive for 3 months. That's 12 weeks, 12 Saturdays for the three modules. And yeah, prepare for the exam. The exam is theory based, it's not objective based. So it's theory based, and then um after the exam, you wait 10 weeks, you get your results, and then you can put in that result and send it to West, because the organization, British Computer Society, is recognized by West. So you send it to West, and then West evaluates, and then you get your report that you have an equivalent to a diploma in the UK. So yeah, that's like a summary of what it is. So it's British Computer Society gives you 33 points extra and adds that to your current CRS score. The exam is held twice in a year. You have to do like an intensive training to be able to meet up with the exam, and then your results comes out 10 weeks after the exam, and then you can take it to West and you get your feedback from West. So yeah, so it's British Computer Society certificate in IT. So that's what it is, but it's an intensive course. So as opposed to doing a master's for 18 months in Nigeria, 18 months or more because of ASU strike. Yeah, this was it for me, because in maybe 6 months or less, I was able to get my second certificate and move on from that. Coincidentally, while I was on that, or before I did the exam, that was when they started the category based draws. So that also now puts me at an edge where um because I now use the stem knock, I now had an edge because if you, for the category based draws, you find different thresholds um for different focus areas or for different categories. So STEM at the time, the threshold for STEM when I was eventually selected for the PR application process, the threshold that year was 481 and my score was 483. So I was easily just imputed into the whole thing and then I started my application. There are other categories. There's healthcare, there is transport, there's agric, there is I think there are six in number. So yeah, what did it for me was the STEM category. And yeah, here I am.
Hmm. Excellent. Oh. Congratulations. Congratulations for you. You're the only one, the one trending this year. All right, here everywhere. Congrats.
Thank you.
That's so striking. This is going to be very cool for those people who are still looking at their score and they are losing hope, right? And also thinking what's the next step to take for this for their PR applications right from Nigeria. So this is it. This is very very remarkable. Thanks for sharing very detailed of how you got yours. But I'm just about to close now because you have an appointment. So this should be about the last question. Um, how long did it take you to get your first job in Canada?
Hmm. So
And you want to give us this updates?
there's no gist, right? There's no gist because so I started working remotely before coming actually. I started working remotely before coming to Canada. Um yeah, like my current role was a contract role. Oh, yeah, it was a contract role. And then I started in October. Started in October and I came to Canada in February, right? So I had like 5 months prior. Yeah, about 5 months or 4 months prior. I was working, right? So it was not. It was like a project coordinator role, nothing major. It was just um. So the idea of working in Nigeria is hard work. Like if you've not done hard work, you've not started working. But here, I won't say life is soft, right? But it's not by hard work. It's not by hard work, right? Or it gives you like you have like time to explore like a lot of things. So for me, I got the role remotely in October last year, and then I moved in February. Right? It was supposed to be a project coordinator role, just to know for the different projects that the company is actually a startup, but for the different projects that the company was working on, just to take track those projects, where my inputs needed to come in. If I need to talk to a business that we are working with, I would have to talk to that business. It was something I still used to do while I was in Nigeria. So I was juggling both. I was doing my Nigerian job and then I was also doing the Canadian remote one. But it wasn't like as intense as the Nigerian job, right? So when I came to Canada in February, I just continued with it, right? Because I had left my Nigerian job because couldn't cope with we couldn't cope with time
That's good.
difference, right? But yeah, it was just seamless for me to just continue my in Canada here, right? But this time around, because bulk of the bulk of what needed to be done, I wasn't working in a project coordinator capacity anymore. It was now in like a project manager capacity. That is currently what I'm doing now. So it's not like you can't ask me how long did it take me to get my job in Canada. But yeah, my job I got it remotely while I was in Nigeria. But one of the things was the my company was aware that I was coming to Canada. So that kind of gave me an edge in during the whole employment process that okay, she's actually going to come, or she's actually processing a PR application, and so she would come. So that kind of gave me an edge. Maybe if I was not going to come to Canada, I don't know if I would have gotten it, but yeah, that's it for me. That's how I got the job. But even currently, like I said, I've been playing around using AI and ATSCs, and that's where bulk of the knowledge I have about ATSCs came about. I've been experimenting, getting jobs in this current climb, and talking to people, not necessarily because I want to, um, not necessarily because I want to create a model, or I want to. I'm trying to explore, okay, getting another role, because I'm still very much interested in my product, even though currently I'm doing like project management. So I'm exploring getting like product manager roles here in Canada, and then that's where bulk of the experience I have with using AI in job search and all of that. That's where that came from, because yeah, that's what I'm currently doing actively. I'm looking out for like product management roles here in Canada or in the US. Who knows? Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to hear from you directly. Your usage of AI, how you do so many stuff and effortless, and also sharing with us your planning and how you are able to also for planning your wedding, getting vendors. Um, and lastly, you just also gave us an update how we could also increase our scores, especially those who are looking at coming to Canada and they are looking at their education, trying to get additional certification. So thank you so much, Paula. I'm really grateful, and I think we should do this again because we've already gone past back. So probably I'll track you. I'll be tracking you on LinkedIn to
Mhm.
see more progress. And I suppose thank you so much for this opportunity to have you here. I wish you all the best and wish you a upward and forward life here in Calgary, all over Canada, in the US, and worldwide. All right. So, what do you have
Thank
to
you.
say to the audience, to the TGM audience, before you sign out?
Well, I don't think I have to say much, but yeah, AI is here to stay. So just get on with it. Start figuring out
Oh,
how you can use AI in whatever you do, and yeah, use AI for good, basically. That's all I have to
wow.
say.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're really grateful to have you. All right. Then, guys, subscribe and like this video. All right. TGM Podcast. We're keeping it free, keeping it 100. It's so good to have you guys watching and also giving us feedback. Although I've been quiet for a while, but I've been getting messages from friends and subscribers asking me what's going on. So I'm back. I'm back, guys. So show us love, subscribe and like our videos, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.